Hi, I'm Mr. New Jersey. There are just a few days left until voting ends in the 2020 elections, so today I will give my predictions for how each of New Jersey's congressional races will go, as well as how each New Jersey county will vote in our U.S. Senate race and presidential election. To begin with, let's overview how control of New Jersey's congressional seats looks currently. When our congressional map was first drawn in 2011, Republicans gerrymandered it with the intent that half of the districts would be Democratic and half would be Republican despite New Jersey's heavily blue lean, effectively canceling out the fact that in a fair map, Democrats should hold a majority of the seats in the state's delegation. So Republicans packed a bunch of excess Democrats into 6 safe blue districts, and left 6 districts that would go Republican but by smaller amounts. In the 2012 and 2014 elections, the elections went exactly as the Republicans thought they would: 6 Democratic districts and 6 Republican ones. However, after that, their gerrymandered map began to crack open. In 2016, Democrats ran moderate candidate Josh Gottheimer in District 5 and were able to oust the Republican incumbent, even though Donald Trump won the district that same year. Then in 2018, there was a gigantic blue wave due to backlash against President Trump. And since New Jersey is a very blue state, the backlash was stronger here than in most parts of the country. Democrats flipped 4 more seats, leaving just a single seat, District 4, in Republican hands. A lot of that change came from wealthier, highly educated suburbanites who historically would have leaned Republican, but felt alienated from the Republican Party due to Donald Trump's actions and messages. This was the most Democratic New Jersey's congressional map had been in over 100 years. However, in late 2019, as the House of Representatives was getting ready to impeach President Trump, Congressman Jeff Van Drew from the 2nd District decided to vote against impeachment and switch to the Republican Party. He claimed he had made this switch because he felt the Democratic Party was becoming too liberal for him, and that they were unfairly pressuring him to support impeachment. Many others allege he actually switched parties for political reasons, believing that his district is trending red, and that his chances of re-election would be better as a Republican. Whatever his reason, that left us with our current New Jersey congressional map, with 10 Democrats and 2 Republicans. So, what can we do to predict how the elections will go in 2020? Well, for starters, the districts that have been held by the same party since the map was drawn are probably going to stay that way. That means Democrats will win districts 1, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 12, and Republicans will win District 4. After that, I would say Districts 5 and 11 are very likely to remain Democratic. Even though these are more recent Democratic flips, Democrats won both of them by double digits last time, and the incumbents are strong, moderate candidates. That leaves only 3 House seats in New Jersey that are seriously competitive. District 2, with incumbent Republican Jeff Van Drew, District 3, with incumbent Democrat Andy Kim, and District 7, with incumbent Democrat Tom Malinowski. My prediction is going to be that Democrats win all 3 of those races. That's because the hatred that New Jersey has for Donald Trump has not gone down since 2018, when all 3 of those districts picked Democrats for Congress. Instead, hatred of Trump has probably gotten stronger here due to his mishandling of the coronavirus pandemic, which has left the United States with the highest death toll in the world. By contrast, our Democratic Governor Phil Murphy has received a high approval rating from the state's voters for treating the pandemic more seriously. So, Democratic enthusiasm in New Jersey will probably not be much lower in 2020 than it was 2 years ago, and many swing voters who are disappointed in President Trump will probably continue to side with the Democrats. However, I do want to acknowledge a few factors in these races that could make my predictions turn out wrong, and I want to be clear that it isn't outside the realm of possibility for the GOP to win all or any of these 3 races. In District 7, the factor I want to mention is the Republican nominee, State Senate Minority Leader Tom Kean Jr. He is one of the state's most powerful Republican legislative leaders, and is the son of a former governor from a long-standing political dynasty. That gives him name recognition that might help him close the gap and overcome Tom Malinowski. In District 3, the factor is, well, just how close the race was last time. Andy Kim only won the district by about 1.5 points in 2018, getting almost exactly 50% of the vote. If Republican David Richter does even a little bit better than his party did last time, he could flip the seat. That said, Richter's chances are hurt by the fact that Andy Kim now benefits from incumbency advantage, which he didn't have last time. Richter's chances are also hurt by the fact that Donald Trump is becoming less and less popular among seniors due to the pandemic's disproportionate effect on them, and District 3 has a large population of older voters who now might not be as reliable for the Republican Party as they usually are. Lastly, in District 2, the factor is that Republicans have incumbency advantage. Even though this district was won by Democrats last time, with Jeff Van Drew, he has since switched parties. This honestly makes District 2 the single hardest race in the state for me to predict, because I don't know how many of the Democrats who voted for Jeff Van Drew last time will follow him back to his new party. However, Jeff Van Drew actually ended up changing several of his policy positions after changing parties, becoming more conservative than he was when he ran last time, which could harm him with moderate voters and anyone who views his party switch as a calculated political move rather than a change based on principle. For example, as a Democrat, Jeff Van Drew supported a bill to make Washington, D.C. a state, but after he became a Republican, Van Drew quietly removed his name from the bill and then voted against it when it went to a floor vote. Overall, my prediction is that all 12 of New Jersey's congressional districts will vote for the same party they chose last time, even though in District 2 that means they won't be voting for the same candidate they chose last time. Now, let's get to the state's presidential and Senate elections. As you already know, New Jersey is a very blue state when it comes to national elections. The last time we voted for a Republican presidential candidate was 1988, and the last time we voted for a Republican U.S. Senate candidate was 1972. Since those elections, New Jersey has been getting bluer and bluer. So it won't be any surprise that I predict New Jersey will give its electoral votes to Democrat Joe Biden, and will vote to re-elect Democrat Cory Booker as our senator. The only real question is by how much we'll vote for those two, and which regions of the state will support each candidate. There aren't a whole lot of presidential election polls in New Jersey to work with, because New Jersey isn't a swing state. So rather than rely on those to make my prediction, I decided to look at national polls and try to extrapolate what I see there to New Jersey. Nationally in 2016, Hillary Clinton beat Donald Trump in the popular vote by about 2%, and according to the 538 polling average, Joe Biden is currently beating Donald Trump by 8.5%. So, Biden is doing 6.5% better than Clinton did. I took the New Jersey county results from 2016 and shifted each towards Biden by 6.5% to see how they would end up. Doing that, I got this map, where most of the counties vote the same way they did in 2016, but Biden flips two of them, Gloucester County and Morris County. Gloucester County is a historically Democratic county that went to Trump by less than 1% in 2016, fueled largely by the national shift of white working-class voters to Trump in that election. On the other hand, Morris County is a historically Republican county that has been getting more pink in recent years during the Trump presidency, because it has lots of the kinds of wealthier, college-educated suburban voters who are currently defecting from the Republicans. Intuitively, the way this map played out makes sense to me, so I'm going to make this my 2020 presidential prediction. The few polls there have been of New Jersey tend to show that Senator Cory Booker might be leading his Republican challenger by even a little bit more than Joe Biden is leading Donald Trump in the state. I don't know if that's going to play out in the final results, but regardless, my prediction is that each county will vote the same way in the presidential race as it does in the Senate race, mostly because, even though ticket splitting still happens, it's becoming less common in the United States. So, that's my prediction. In both the presidential and Senate races, Democrats will win Bergen, Passaic, Hudson, Essex, Union, Morris, Somerset, Middlesex, Mercer, Burlington, Camden, Gloucester, Cumberland, and Atlantic counties. Republicans will win Sussex, Warren, Hunterdon, Monmouth, Ocean, Cape May, and Salem counties. Other than Morris County, this map happens to be the exact same as our 2017 gubernatorial election. One last thing to note is that New Jerseyans will vote on 3 state constitutional amendments this November. The first would legalize recreational use of marijuana by adults in the state. The second would allow peacetime veterans to access a property tax deduction that is currently only available to wartime veterans. And the third would delay the state's legislative and congressional redistricting process if the census data is ever delayed past February 15th of the year of redistricting, such as a possible delay due to the coronavirus pandemic. I expect the first two amendments to pass by fairly wide margins, but I don't have as good a sense of how the third one will go. I hope you've enjoyed my 2020 election predictions. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you watch the results come in on election night, please remember that results will take longer to know in full due to the pandemic and increases in absentee voting. In many states, absentee votes are counted last. So even if one candidate is leading on election night, if the absentee votes are heavily different in a partisan makeup, that candidate might not be leading when the final results are in. So please be patient, and don't assume that that's a sign of fraud, because it isn't. Have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.